Bora ver dessa semana, Python Bytes dessa semana. Deixa eu dar uma olhadinha só no Python Bytes. Python Bytes Podcast. Vou só pegar aqui os temas que os caras conversaram essa semana. Só pra não também achar que o bagulho vai ser muito foda e... Enfim, que número que é esse aqui do Python Bytes? 353. Hatching Another Episode. Tá bom. Vamos ver o que eles conversaram sobre. Overflow AI. Ah, tá. O AI da Stack Overflow. Switching to Hatch. Certo. Alpha Release of the Rough Formatter. Interessante. Alpha Release. Ah, tá, mais uma release. Tá. What's Wrong with Tomo? Tá bom, parece interessante. Python Test Course. Coding Rust. A nova ideia do JetBrains. Também vou dar uma olhadinha nisso. Bora. Então vamos lá. Vamos lá ver o episódio deles aqui. Vou pular um pouco porque tem coisa que não me interessa muito não. Vou botar uma velocidade maior aqui. E-mail. Botar um somzinho pela metade aqui. Fica muito alto. E bora.
Hey everyone. Hey Michael.
Hello.
Just another episode. So let's do this.
It's another Tuesday, another Python Bytes Tuesday.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for showing up. Hello and welcome to Python Bytes, where we deliver Python news and headlines directly to your earbuds. This is episode 353, recorded September 18th, 2023. I am Brian Hawken.
And I'm Michael Kennedy.
This episode is brought to you by us. So please check out Talk Python Training and the new Python Testing with PyTest course that's in progress, but already awesome. And also thank you to our Patreon supporters. And if you want to connect to any of us, you've got Python Bytes and Brian Hawken and M. Kennedy all on Fostodon, and the links are in the show notes. So let's kick it off with our first AI topic, Michael.
Yes, let's ask the AI what our first topic should be. In fact, let's go to Stack Overflow and ask them what our first AI topic should be. No, seriously. So Stack Overflow has announced Overflow AI, which is not, I'm sure they have, they've got Stack Exchange with all sorts of different things like stuff for Linux, stuff for Mac, DevOps, you name it.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is not another AI overflow type thing in that sense. This is adding generative AI to Stack Overflow. All right. So the best way to kind of get a sense of what's going on here is there's a little video, a 3-minute video that seems like it could be about 45 seconds given how much content is in it, but spend 3 minutes with them and you'll get an example. So the most relevant portion, there's some stuff that we don't care about here, but the most relevant portion is when you go to Stack Overflow, you search for an answer, it gives you a list of results, right? Those results are based on traditional search, right? Keyword matches, and honestly, it does surprisingly well, right? When you go search there, but they're changing their search, and this is, maybe it's out now. I have a hard time telling if it's out now. As a preview you can sign up for, but you go to Stack Overflow and you search for something. Now you get like a chat GPT like response if you want, and it'll say here are some of the possible answers, but
essa parada eu vi esses dias no Stack Overflow. Se você for lá no Stack Overflow, eles estão até já tipo no site principal deles. Ah, tá, no site principal não. Acho que se você procurar algum problema que tipo, sei lá, Python Dict Order, sei lá, qualquer porcaria aqui. Tipo, ele tava dando uma mensagem aqui de... agora acho que não tá mais aqui falando. Mas tava dando uma mensagem aqui falando sobre esse Overflow AI. Tava rolando esses dias atrás aí. Isso. Enfim, vamos lá. Continuar aqui. Ops. Aqui.
Here's also just like if you search Google or Kaggle, you might get a little snippet that just shows you the answer from Stack Overflow without taking you there. It's kind of like that. It'll say, and here's a little bit of an answer. And then you can actually start a conversation about it like you would with ChatGPT. Like, that's cool, but it doesn't quite apply. How would you, I'm not using Selenium for this. I'm using Pyrite. Could you give me an example of the same process, but with Pyrite? It'll try to give you the answer. Right. So that's all pretty cool. And they're integrating generative AI into the public platform, into Stack Overflow for Teams. I didn't know Stack Overflow for Teams existed, but if I had a team, it would look really cool to use, but not in a huge corporation with a ton of people working on stuff. So they're also planning to add, at the moment, VS Code integration or Stack Overflow and the Stack Overflow AI. So you can just, you've got your source control section, your file section. It's just got a Stack Overflow section where you can start talking to it.
Cara, mas e aí? Tipo assim, já tem Copilot X, por exemplo. E tem também o da... Como chama da Amazon? Esse aqui, né? Esqueci o nome dele. O da Amazon. Da Amazon é o... Code Whisperer. O Code Whisperer também. E tem o Copilot X. Deixa eu ver. Copilot X também já na parada aqui. Caramba, mais um competitor. Mais um para competition. Deixa eu carregar aqui na parada. De boa, beleza, né? Bora lá.
Good. And get generative AI answers out of Stack Overflow. So I find there's a little bit of irony here, Brian. In that Stack Overflow was banning answers from ChatGPT. Now they're adding a feature that lets you have a conversation and query it using generative AI, which seems normal. However, one of the features they highlight in the video is you can say, none of this applies to me. AI, help me draft a question. So the answers can't be generative AI, but the questions can be generative AI.
Interesting.
For the right source of AI, right origin, right? The Overflow AI, not ChatGPT. Yeah. So this is in private alpha, I guess, is the current form. But I went there, the way I discovered is I went to search for something on Stack Overflow. I said, do you want to try out the new Overflow AI search? I'm like, yes, what is this? This looks very interesting. And in my profile under settings, I have the ability to have that turned on. It is turned on, but when I go to do search stuff, it doesn't seem to use it. So I think it's like fading in and out as they're making changes to it. But yeah, people can check that out. And then finally, VS Code extension looks cool. Where's our PyCharm one? Come on, bring it on, bring it on. I want this in PyCharm too. PyCharm also added its own little AI assistant, but I'm waiting for it to get better. It's pretty cool, but
Caramba, mano, mas assim, tipo, Stack Overflow 2023 Dev Survey. Não, nada contra, galera que não curtiu o VS Code, mas tipo, o VS Code não era um dos principais code editors que tava na parada, tipo, desse ano. Developer Profile, Developer Roles, acho que tipo, não deve estar aqui, né? Deve estar em Technology. Most Popular Technologies. Tá, vamos ver esse aqui. Programming, Databases, Cloud Platforms, Web Frameworks, Other Frameworks and Libraries, Other Tools, não, Docker, nada a ver. Aí, Integrated Development Environment. Porra, no bagulho dos caras deu 73% da galera que respondeu usa VS Code. Então, tipo assim, os caras vão focar no público deles, né, pô. Pode ser que depois eles lancem até uma do tipo PyCharm, por exemplo, o IntelliJ, que tá em 26%. Pô, mas a maioria da galera tem o VS Code instalado, pelo menos. A grande maioria da galera tem o VS Code instalado. Então, por que eles vão, tipo, vão fazer pro IntelliJ, por exemplo, do PyCharm primeiro? Não, mano, aí não, né, Michael? Aí, tipo, tá aqui o motivo deles estarem fazendo isso aqui de inicial. Pode ser que ele venha fazer, mas, tipo, não é interesse por enquanto.
But it's not something I'm totally embracing yet.
I just want it to be. I'd like it when it rolls out. I'd like it to be able to know, did this come from a person or from an AI, or was it some mix of the two or something? I don't know.
Right.
Kind of like with, and I kind of agree with him for not allowing AI people to just
yes
throw the question into ChatGPT and paste the answer into Stack Overflow. That's not what people are expecting. So
right. And if you want that, just put your question straight into ChatGPT. Like, leave out the Stack Overflow middle aspect. I'm sure the real concern was, there's a lot of reputation stuff. There's a lot of like, this person is really good at answering questions, and here's how much it contributed. And if you just, you could easily game that with AI results. And I'm sure it is being gamed with AI results, just with a little more work. But anyway. Such is the world.
Yeah, times are changing. So
they are. That's what ChatGPT told me anyway. How about you? What's your next one?
Well, I was going to talk about switching to Hatch. So for Python packaging, and also setting up virtual environments and stuff, I guess. So Hatch is okay. So for packaging, we had set up
Caralho, yet another.
We had lots of stuff. We had like Flit and Hatchling.
Yet another package manager for Python. Caralho, mano. Aí também a galera extrapola barato, né?
And poetry and all sorts of things. So Hatch, there's two parts to Hatch. There's Hatchling, which is the backend that helps you build and unbuild packages and stuff. And then there's Hatch, which is built. It has Hatchling as part of it. But anyway, let's go through this. There's an article from Oliver Andrich talking about switching to Hatch. And great graphic, by the way. There's a graphic that says, "I don't know where I'm going from here, but I promise it won't be boring." That's pretty cool. Anyway, he was using poetry, looked at PDM,
Yeah.
now he's thinking about Hatch. It's possibly his new love. We don't know. It's a question mark. So there's a sentence here that bothers me, and we can get back to it. But it says some prominent projects enjoy using it or using Hatch. I don't know if that's true, but let's go on. He does show some really cool things with Hatch, which I didn't know it could do. For instance, when you say Hatch new project, it creates a new project.toml file. One of the things it does in that is it creates these entry points to environment, like virtual environments, and there's separate ones for things like there's a default one, and then there's a test one that has like your PyTest and plugins and stuff. Then there's linting that has like pyrite and black and rough and things in it. His question really was, why wouldn't I have just a dev virtual environment? But we're using a lot of extra tools now. They might have dependencies that clash. So if you do have dependencies that clash, maybe a separate virtual environment for each type of tool chain might be interesting.
You are speaking my language now. I didn't really think about that, but there's about a 50-50 chance if I say update all the dependencies for Talk Python training, which I think is about 50. There's the runtime ones, and then there's the reporting dev ones, and that includes some things like Jupyter Notebooks for graphs and stuff. There's about a 50-50 chance that I'll get an error saying cannot find any solution to these requirements that you're asking for, because something in the data science stack forces something to be less than or equal to, and something in the other stack is greater than or equal to, and those are non-intersecting. I'm like, well,
yeah,
it still runs fine, and I'm sure it'll be okay, but it's like I'm constantly fighting that. So actually having a dev environment and a dev tools environment and a runtime environment is actually pretty cool idea.
Yeah, and one of the examples is docs. Like they're using make docs material, so it's probably got a bunch of dependencies, or you might be using some other document generator tool, and you don't really care.
Então, mas assim, isso é para casos muito específicos, né? Tipo assim, tá, não é caso específico, mas um projeto que você tem, sei lá, 50 dependências no caso dele. Se você for atualizar, com certeza vai dar ruim. Tipo, você tem que meio que quase que by hand atualizando. Você não vai sair atualizando tudo. Tipo, projeto que eu já trabalhei que tinha, sei lá, por aí cara, acho que tinha muito mais do que 50 dependências. Enfim, era um arquivo, tipo um requirements txt gigante. Mano, a gente foi migrar para Python 3.9, que era o que aceitava na AWS, no Lambda, um ano passado, começo do ano passado ainda. Tipo, teve que atualizar by hand até onde deu. Tipo assim, eu fui um por um atualizando. Acho que eu fiz alguns testes de 1 por 1, depois o resto do pessoal, o pessoal que trabalhou comigo fez assim, o 100%. Mas, cara, a gente foi testando 1 por 1. Eu falei pro pessoal lá, gente, vamos testar 1 por 1 até onde der para subir, a gente vai subindo. Começou a quebrar, roda os testes unitários, começou a quebrar, esquece, já não para aí. Tipo, não dá pra você subir tudo de uma vez. Tá, isso poderia ser minimizado com isso, mas assim, tipo, pode ser dependência de teste, né? Se tiver uma dependência de teste muito forte, muito grande, né? Que pode ter alguma dependência do teste que tem uma dependência igual com o que você usa uma biblioteca que realmente não é de teste. E aí tá dando conflito de versão e você não consegue subir. Mas aí, tipo, você não sobe de teste, né? Pô, você sobe a normal de teste, você deixa tagnada lá, né? Enfim, né?
Care if that collides with your testing chain or something, because they're different. So okay, anyway, kind of neat idea. I didn't know Hatch did that. It's kind of cool. You can also do scripts. So each environment can have its own set of scripts. So you can have linting scripts and testing scripts and docs scripts and things like that. Like for instance, one of the linting ones, you could say run black, and it has all of your black arguments or something.
Nice.
You can have that. That's kind of neat. No need to use talks. This surprised me. Apparently, there's a matrix ability for Hatch, so you can do test matrices. Within Hatch. I don't know if you can do other. Why would you do a docs matrix though? So test matrix makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense anywhere else. But that's kind of neat. And then the last bit I thought was pretty cool was for one, it has scripts, but I don't know if it's very convenient. So like say you have a cov script for coverage within your test environment, you would run it by saying hatch run test : cov. It's kind of a mouthful still. So I'm not sure.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Optional dependencies are kind of neat. Most tools have optional dependencies, but apparently Hatch has a kind of a neat way to say. So let's say in the example, you had 2 different optional dependencies for MySQL or Postgres, depending on what database you want to install. A default could be just saying MySQL, and it would pull in all of the requirements for MySQL. There's an easy way to do sort of a transitive default. Recommended. Hatch
too
is
much
sort of
for me.
Hatch is the workflow tool, similar to Poetry. So, but still cool. Kind of like that. Poetry kind of makes you. At least last time I tried it, it sort of had you take all of the tools with it. But Hatch is more of a use the tools you want sort of a tool. So anyway,
yeah,
kind of
cool.
Nice. I just checked while we were talking.
You did?
What did I say? 48 or something for the number of dependencies. It's the same. I don't know how I got to it. 232 packages to run Talk Python training with the reporting. I can't easily separate the dev versus runtime without like, more work.
Não, desiste pra série.
That's a lot of packaging.
Não, já foi, mano. Você já fez o projeto inteiro, agora não dá pra você dividir isso aí, tem um trabalho gigante pra poder dividir environments, dependendo de cada package, dependendo, tipo, você vai ter que ver onde cada um, onde você usou cada um, pra ser uma dependência de dev, de teste, de prod, enfim. Cara, é o tempão que você tem que gastar nisso aí agora.
And it's like,
Se você quiser rachar desse sentido até, né? Dividir nessa forma aí também, né? Claro. Tipo, enfim.
are you sure you're not using like Go or something else that uses tons of dependencies? JavaScript?
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a problem. It's just there's.
Não, JavaScript, os caras chutou o pau da barraca também, né?
With 232, there's a reasonable chance that
Usou forte aí, né?
a good bunch of those come from the non-runtime stuff. There's a good chance that there's a clash between them. So this idea of multiple virtual environments is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming most of those are transitive. You're using some tool that's using
Yes.
some other tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, on to the next. Hold on. Comment from Mark in the audience says, yeah, I feel like hatchling but not hatch is a fairly common pattern. When mentioned on Talk Python to me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Speaking of, I just want to point out that episode 408 earlier this year, I had Ovek on, the creator of Hatch, talk about Hatch and its benefits and all those different things. So
Cool.
Check that if they care. But let's talk formatting code. Formatting code equals black, yes?
Like,
Yeah, and others.
And others.
Others.
However, rough checks your code formatting for correctness, and we've discussed how fast rough is, right? To the point where it's like,
oh, pausa aqui. Rough, tô usando. Tá instalado aqui no meu VS Code. Tá, ó. Gostei. Tá aqui, ó. Cadê? Rough. Aqui. Roughzinho aqui, ó. Gostei desse cara. Gostei. Instalei aqui. Esse aqui é um tipo extension, né? Um pluginzinho do VS Code para rodar. Né? Chipa com, né? Dá uns chips com o Rough 00289. Mas tu pode meter no projeto também que for para rodar na versão mais nova, né? Tô gostando, tô achando bacana pra caramba o Rough. Check.
did I actually check the code? Or did I enter the wrong directory and there just found no contents, right? That kind of thing, right? Well, this was sent over to us from Sky, so thank you, Sky, for sending it in. Charlie Marsh, creator of Rough, has announced the Rough formatter, so not just telling you what's wrong, but checking for errors, but formatting your code based on convention, similar but not identical to black.
Tá.
So that's pretty cool. Let me read a few things that Sky sent over here, because I think their experience is worthwhile. So Charlie says, first of all, the formatter is designed to be a drop-in replacement for black, but with an excessive focus on performance and direct integration with Rough. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So Sky says, can't find any benchmarks that have been released yet, but I did some extremely unscientific testing, caveat there. We found the Rough formatter to be 5 to 10 times faster than black when running on already formatted code or in a small code base. So 5 to 10 times faster, but 75 times faster when running on a large code base of unformatted code. However, they point out that...
Oh, aí não, né?
The second outcome is not that relevant because how many times do you format huge projects that are not formatted? Normally it's incremental, right? So the smaller bits is maybe worth paying attention to more there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I almost missed this announcement because Rough already had some go ahead and fix it if you can features.
Yeah, it did have a few fix-it things. Yeah, exactly.
So.
And like I said, I think that was about there's a violation rather than a convention, right? It's not a violation necessarily to say I write generally in single quotes or I write in double quotes for all my strings. Or I might sometimes have a single quote or sometimes have a double quote where like you might have a coding convention that says all of our strings are the same. They all use single quotes or they all use double quotes. And I don't, there's no reason for like in the same function to have two kinds of strings unless you're in that situation where like I'm saying it's possible. So I don't want to use a single quote so I don't have to escape the apostrophe. So I'll use a double quote for that one, right? But other than those like sort of weird cases, you shouldn't mix, right? I think that's more what the point of the Rough formatter is addressing, and black as well.
Yeah. Well, Rough has a few differences from black as well.
Yes, and they call out, it says the formatter is intended to emit near identical output when run over black formatted code. This is interesting. When run over extensively black formatted code projects like Django and Zulip, it was 99.9% the same. However, it says somewhere when run over non-black formatted code, it might make different decisions than black's made.
Yeah.
So,
and I kind of like some of the decisions that they're making.
I do too. I do actually like them quite a bit. So I'm a fan of some of these things. It doesn't have as many features yet as black does in terms of like controlling certain things, or but they're working on it. I was talking to Charlie just an hour ago. By talking, I meant submitting a GitHub issue. It was quickly. We're having a back and forth there, so that's awesome. Yeah,
I like for instance, the line endings. I think are a cool way to deal with it.
Yeah.
So
the line feed versus carriage return line feed /n versus /r/n. That's a Windows versus non-Windows challenge, right? And so I guess if you're on Windows, you don't want to keep like unraveling that for you, I suppose.
Yeah, actually, I thought one of the things I thought I read was things about comments at the end of the line. Black would often put like the comment on a completely your comment might not match up with what you actually commented against. But
yeah,
I think it's cool that this is happening in this space.
Indeed. Jeff out there asks, is there also a rough daemon like Black has? I had no idea about the Black daemon, and I definitely don't know about the rough daemon. But what I use is I just have the IDE integration for rough, so it will automatically.
Eu também uso, mostrei IDE integration com VS Code, sim, é melhor.
Be running in the background. All right, you get that for PyCharm and VS Code. I imagine it makes sense to have it run and just constantly checking. So I don't know.
Não sei se vale a pena.
Right, this is still in alpha, so probably not.
So, and also good to note, this isn't it is kind of a separate tool, but it's part of rough. So it's if you say like rough format.
Yes, exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Então provavelmente no futuro vão mandar junto, né? Tipo, vai estar dentro da ferramenta, né? Vai estar dentro da ferramenta já. Aí tu talvez tenha que optar, o rough tem as configurações de optar ou não por usar o black já. Cadê o VS Code aqui? Tem na config P. Esses são options. Quando você vem na config do rough aqui, rough, tipo, você pode, não, mais para baixo aqui, para salvar. É aqui, ó, quando você vai salvar, tem fix all, mas ele tem aqui o default formatter. Provavelmente no futuro você vai poder mudar aqui do black formatter pro rough normal e, tipo, é isso, né? Parece que vai ser assim que vai funcionar, talvez. Porque ele já tem meio integrado isso no VS Code. Com o plugin ali, né? Já tá meio integrado nisso aí. Boa. Bom, interessante.
Rough format, and actually...
É bom que o rough é escrito em Rust, vai ser super rápido, né? Então...
A little example that I was running earlier, but there's a couple, So you can do things like, so you can say like rough format, -- line length, -- respect get ignore. So to say, if it's ignoring get, don't format it. Don't format it. Things like packages that are installed in
Não formata, git ignore. Com certeza, né, caramba.
Virtual environment. Like, don't go messing with stuff.
Good one to discuss on the show. What's wrong with TOML? I'm like, I don't think anything's wrong with TOML, so let's take a look. So there's an article, I forget, it's hard to find, but Calm O'Connor, cool name. What's wrong with TOML? And the gist of this really is TOML is great for smallish things. And even considering pyproject.toml is smallish. But interesting quote from apparently from Martin Vijnar, author of PyToml, said, TOML is a bad file format. It looks good at first glance, and for really, really trivial things, it's probably good. But once I started using it and the configuration schema became more complex, I found the syntax ugly and hard to read. Not sure what he was doing with it, but anyway. So there's some funkiness with big things, and I'm like, well, what is big things, and what are they comparing it to? One of the comparisons is against a thing called strict YAML, which I didn't know what that was. And strict YAML is YAML compliant.
It's the YAML that won't let you go out at night. Your curfew's like 9:30. It's really it's oppressive.
Apparently, it's YAML with some of the features taken away. So it's not a standard yet, but apparently it's in the process. So like, what are they doing with it? That TOML is a problem, and it's around. Strict YAML also is built for, what is it built for? Readable story tests. I'm like, what's a readable story test? I want to see. Here's some examples. We've got this is a strict YAML readable story. Mappings with defined keys. Anyway, this is sort of readable, but there's a lot of keywords in here that I'm not going to say this is readable. I don't think this is that great. Now, compared to the TOML version, yeah, this is weird. You've got like these weird brackets with lots of. I don't think this is necessarily a problem. My take on it is I wouldn't use either of these for this purpose. I would use Python probably to describe stories. But anyway, I don't want to
Markdown, né? Usar Markdown, tipo, esse exemplo aqui que ele tá dando aqui do strict YAML também, tipo, mano, sei lá, né? O que a questão é se você usar esse linha 14 setup? Não, mano, se você fizer isso, você tá muito errado. Não, mano, não. Se você tá fazendo no YAML, tá jogando código do Python no YAML para ele tipo, fazer um parser disso e executar. Não, você tá muito errado. Não, realmente, tipo, não tem nada errado com o TOML. Você tá errado fazendo no lugar errado.
I guess something to think about if TOML is, if you're using TOML for really large things, maybe it's a problem. I'd be curious to know, Will, if you're listening, what do you think? Is it, are you using some wacky large TOML files that are becoming a problem?
No.
So that's, just wanted to throw that out there.
Awesome. Got any extras to throw out there?
My extras are totally self-serving, but
See the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. So last week I announced I think that I had part 1 of the PyTest course all buttoned. And then later you can go back and click on the note and it takes you back to that part of the video. So if you want to keep some
Course.
To create a
Já falaram que programação é profissão.
Sai daqui, ó.
Go version of the HTMX course at Talk Python. Now we have HTMX plus Django, modern Python web apps hold the JavaScript. Pretty realistic. Got a few more days to save 10% if you're thinking about getting it with Flask. So I'm not really sure the origin of it, but it's based on the same foundation as PyCharm.
Aqui é a versão nova do
JetBrains just released a new IDE called Rust Rover.
Rust Rover.
Funny name. I'm not really sure the origin of it, but it's based on the same foundation as PyCharm. So if you're already using PyCharm or something like it, WebStorm, whatever, and you have the muscle memory for those hotkeys and basically the way it looks and feels, but you also want to do Rust, Rust Rover, come on over. You know, let's do it. I haven't tried this out. I don't do any Rust, so people who do Rust can check it out and let me know what they think.
Nice. I use the C++ version also.
The Sea Lion.
Yeah.
C.
It's sort of a funny name for it.
Yes, they got good names. Also, Skylar Costco, who is this guy from submitting the rough formatter, says it looks like -- respect get ignore is the default behavior in a rough formatter. You should only need to set a flag, pass this flag, if you do want to format get ignored files via -- no respect. Got no respect for the get ignore.
Got no respect around here.
Yeah, some Rodney Dangerfield programming right there. you dissing the get ignore? Come on now. New Talk Python episode I just released like right before we jumped on here. Delightful machine learning apps with Gradio. If you want to take a ML machine learning model you created and put it into an interactive UI on the web that you can share, super easy. Check this out, open source, very cool. It even has
Piadinha deles no final, cadê?
Why is not open? I wish I can't zoom
Oh,
it.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, okay. So sometimes,
I'm worried now.
well, I'm sure in school,
5 stages
you
debugging.
probably studied like the 5 stages of grief or something like that.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
that's not something you really want. Why is not open? I wish I can't zoom it. Anyway, maybe it's
não, vamos abrir aqui vou abrir no coisa aqui, velho. 5 stages of debugging. Vou botar no Reddit. Caramba, mano. Abre essa parada também. Tá bom. Abre uma nova aba aqui, por favor. Muito obrigado, navegador. Ah, não. Right. 5 stages of debugging. At some point in each of our life, we must face errors in our code. Debugging is a natural healing process to help us through these times. It's important to recognize this common stage and realize that debugging will eventually come to an end. Caramba, mano. Que frase é essa? Em algum ponto das nossas vidas, nós precisamos enfrentar os erros nos nossos códigos. Debugar é uma cura natural. É um processo de cura natural que ajuda a gente nesses tempos difíceis. É importante reconhecer essas alterações, esses estados comuns e realizar que o debug vai eventualmente chegar ao fim. Os steps, denial. Nesse estágio, esse estágio é sempre caracterizado por frases como What? Que? Isso é impossível? Or I know this is right. I know, eu tenho certeza que isso está correto. A strong sign of denial is recompiling without changing any code. Caramba, mano. Um sinal forte de denial, né? Tipo, que você não está aceitando, é recompilar sem mudar nada, sem mudar nenhum código. Just in case, só por preocupação. Caramba, mano. Bargain self-blame. Putz. Diversos erros de programação não estão cobertos e o programador se sente estúpido e culpado por não ter feito os códigos, né, de cobertura para testes, sei lá. Barganha é comum. Se eu corrigir isso, você vai compilar, por favor. Também I only have 14 hours to go. Nossa, só tem 14 dias para corrigir. Para, mano. Tipo, anger, raiva, erros crípticos, erros de mensagens crípticas, são enviados para o programador. que está nervoso, né? Anti-rage. Nesse estágio é acompanhado por longas horas e profundidades sobre as limitações da linguagem, diretamente. Para quem estiver ouvindo. Depressão. Depois do uau, né, de ter se explodido tudo, né, o programador becomes aware that hours have gone. Percebe que passou várias horas improdutivas e que ainda não encontrou uma solução. O programa, né? Postura interior. Tá bom. E a aceitação final. O programador finalmente aceita a situação, declara que o bug é uma feature e vai jogar um Quake. Tipo, da hora. Legal. Boa. Gostei dessa. Bacaninha. Engraçadinha, vamos dizer assim, né? Engraçadinha. Tudo bem. Fechou. Deixa eu...
I gotta try to read. I have only 14 errors to go. So listless.
Boa.
Or take a nap or something.
Yeah.
That's
I find time away often is the most important thing.
Yeah, go record a podcast or something.
Exactly. Or go for a walk, go for a motorcycle ride, bicycle ride. Like, just get away from the computer for a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Muito bom.
All right, well.
Speaking of getting away from the computer.
Exactly. Let's get away from this podcast. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
Vai. Muito bom, muito bom. Eu gostei desse do Reformatter aí. Achei interessante essa parada aí. Show. Boa. Maravilha.